That's it. Then,
Okay. So stand over here, and then we can shift it around. So welcome everyone, Brisbane Tableau User Group. I'm David Keys. I've been part of the Tableau User Group here since 2013, I think. So I'm an old-time Tableau user. Fred has come along and he's now hosting with me. Truth is, Fred's doing most of the work. What I'm doing, or what Key Data are doing, is we're hosting
50% of the work.
50% of the work. I think they're doing a little bit more than 50% of the work. But we're paying the bills for getting this going. So yeah, very happy with that. And it's such a good community. We get so much going on here. It's great. So welcome to this user group. The last one in 2022. And then Fred and I were just having a chat. We'll probably have the next one sometime next February. So moving on. We have the, if you are interested in talking at a future TUG, please have a look at this will be on video as well after the event, so it's pretty easy to go back and get that. And if you want to join the group and get the emails talking about upcoming TUGs and all that sort of jazz, here's the link to go and do that as well. So feel free to take advantage of those. We're very keen on the in-person option. We're also doing the virtual option. So great if you can come along. As we keep going along, we'll make sure we can accommodate. Okay. So acknowledgement of the country. Just like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, and pay our respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. Extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders and First Nations people here today. So, and Fred's been doing some fantastic quizzes on this. You can see them on Tableau. So yes, always will be Iberian, verbal. So for today, quick intro, David Keys, Fred Perry, and then we're going to get Yong here to do his presentation. Yong's a PhD that's done some work. Is it on this actual topic? Yes. Yep. So doing some work around microbiology and data. So very keen to see what he's got there. We've also got Dr. Marco Motta, and he's going to be giving us an intro to ABS data. I've played around with ABS data. Man, it is so rich. The stuff you can do in this space is unreal. We had a young guy who I got a phone call one day from the ABS saying, "Are you guys doing something about data?" We'd actually almost shut down their server, by the way we were pulling the data.
And you're scraping their servers, were you?
Sorry?
You're scraping their servers.
We're scraping their servers. And they said, we don't have an issue with that. We just want to work out a way to make it so it's not causing the impact that it was. So that was fascinating. Then we've got Darren Murray over here. Darren's doing a huge amount in this space as well. And he's going to talk about his Iron Biz
submission. First time submission.
Yeah.
Craziness. Quick call out for June. So I've known June for many years. Online in the Tableau community, we just do stuff on Twitter, random stuff. And June always caught my eye because he's doing amazing database, Tableau database on biology, science, which is not the topic I understand. But the stuff he's doing is really amazing and help you understand that kind of stuff. So Tableau is good for business and other stuff, but for biology, that's a very good topic. And I'm glad Jim can come because he's going back to Canada. So he's been here for 20 years, 5 years. So going back home, so I think big thanks. That's for, not, I don't tell the last time we see you, but hopefully not, but at least in Brisbane. So on behalf of the Brisbane mobs, thank you for contributing and thank you for talking today. Yeah.
Excellent. So, is it pronounced June?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for inviting me to the talk. I think the last time when I was presenting here, I was talking more about how I would go about presenting an idea of science using Tableau. But then I kind of reflected back on that and I was asking myself, well, I never mentioned why we're doing this. Why is it important to present science to the general public? So this is really going to be the basis of my talk today. And more specifically, I'm going to talk about two sides of this conversation. One is from the scientist perspective of, let's say, why is data viz, well, why is data viz and data analysis important for the scientists? But also at the same time, I going to explain why is understanding microbiology, or I would say microbiology literacy, important for the general public. So those are the sides. Okay, so we have already done this, but just want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, which we meet today. So yes, just briefly a bit about myself. So I just recently completed my PhD in microbiology last year. So I'm a freshly minted PhD. So I'm currently doing a postdoctoral research at University of Queensland. And my area of research is looking at interactions between plants and bacteria, and how does bacteria can help promote or suppress the growth of plants. And this has a lot of implications in areas such as agriculture and also soil management. I've been a Tableau user since 2014, and as Fred has mentioned, most of my work on Tableau Public discusses topic in this area of environmental microbiology. So more specifics, what sort of bacteria are present in different environments and what do they do and why is that important in all these different aspects of our life, right? So you might ask, well, Young, why are you so hell-bent on doing microbiology on Tableau? Well, I can show you why that's the case. As I've mentioned previously, a lot of aspects of our life harnesses the ability of microbes in one way or the other. And it encompasses a lot of different areas such as agriculture, environment, health, industry. These bubbles that are shown with the blue letters, that's the area where I'm currently focusing my research on. But yeah, I think it's really important, even when, especially right now, you might, if we reflect back on the events that's happened in the last decade or so, we really need a policy that can, help with the health and the soil management. And in order to establish a robust strategy, we need to know a lot more about how the microbes interact with the surrounding habitats. And so how did the microbes, and especially bacteria, that's so good at doing all these things? Well, in order to understand that, we need to look at the history of bacteria, I think. And the first bacterial cell was actually was found around 3.5 to 2.5 billion years ago on Earth, where there was absolutely just nothing but heat and gas, toxic gas. And over the time, bacteria managed to evolve and adapt to their surrounding environment. And this time, around 2.7 to 2.3 billion years ago, this is when the oxygen started forming the atmosphere. So all the way going forward, actually, around, it was only about 2.4 to 1 million years ago when the first humans were actually on Earth. And the first discovery of bacteria was around late 17th century. And since then, we've learned to harness, we've learned to apply this knowledge in microbiology in different industry. You might notice, you might recognize the pasture or pasteurization. That's this French scientist who discovered that bacteria can actually ferment sugars into different products like alcohol and other different products that are currently in the industrial application. And in 1998, an American scientist named Joe Handelsman coined the term metagenomics in the literature. And this term is actually when the data and data analysis becomes more relevant in the field of microbiology. And we're going to discuss this later in my presentation. And in finally in 2009, we scientists developed a method called next generation sequencing platform, which can churn out a lot of millions and millions of data in a very cost-friendly and time-friendly manner. So really, this was when the data became relevant, and then I guess in 2009, this is when the data analytics and all this visualization became really, really important. So just a bit more about why the microbes are important well, this one is particularly dealing with the environment. So if you have looked at some of the dashboards in my profile, you might have came across some infographics like this. So this one particularly looks at a process called the nitrogen cycle. Yeah.
Oh, you can keep.
Yeah. Where
small issue.
Yeah. And this process is important because, well, about 78% of Earth's atmosphere is composed of nitrogen. And plants can't use the nitrogen gas on its own for growth because nitrogen gas is toxic for the plants. So what's happening is there are soil bacteria that can take the nitrogen gas and convert it into different forms that can be suitable for the plants to actually absorb for their growth. In return, the plants then produce different sort of nutrients that can be used by bacteria for their growth. So it's almost like you scratch my back, I scratch your back situation.
Yeah, mommy.
And finally, at the end, the nitrogen gas comes right back into the atmosphere, and the cycle happens over and over again. And this is basically happening every day in our lives. And this is the important process. Now, sometimes when activities such as agricultural activities happens, that can sometimes disturb this cycle. And when that cycle gets disturbed, you get something like what you see on the right-hand side. So what happens is a lot of fertilizers and even agrochemicals like pesticides sometimes they get run off into with the ocean by groundwater system. And what happens then is there are bacteria that are living in the ocean that can use those runoffs as nutrients. But at the same time, they also use the oxygen supplies in the water to actually carry out the process. Then what happens is we have this process where the oxygen level in the water gets depleted. And that also has effects on different fish and different aquatic creatures, as well as the coral. So understanding all these microbial processes, again, is important in trying to establish different strategies for bioremediation and soil management processes. So here, I just briefly explained why microbiology literacy is important for the general public, but here's the million-dollar question. Why is data analytics and visualization important, not just for the public, but also for the scientists? Well, to answer that question, I'm going to just kind of give you a brief overview of everyday happenings that are happening in the scientist's lab. And this is the method of studying the bacteria in the environment. And this is more of a traditional method, which has been done for decades, and it still happens. So here, what happens is we take the samples from different environments, And then we chuck some of those samples into a growth medium that sort of mimics optimal conditions in which the bacteria can live. Then what happens then is we inoculate that medium containing environmental samples, and we wait, for weeks, months, years until we see some sort of growth. You can actually see the growth by seeing the color of the medium. It actually becomes really turbid by the time that these bacteria start to grow. So what we then transfer those bit of medium into the solid. This is a liquid medium, and now we have solid medium that has different antibiotics and nutrients to isolate different species of bacteria based on based on the type of antibiotics which which kills or doesn't kill them, or any sort of type of nutrients which that can help them grow and thrive. And once we can isolate those different species, then those are then sequenced for the DNA from those cells that are sequenced, or we even study the cell shape and structure to see learn more about their physical properties of these bacteria. Now, this is all good and all, but as I mentioned here, this inoculation time can be a bottleneck, because you have to wait weeks, months until these things grow. So to overcome that, there is now a method called metagenomics. So simply put, instead of trying to inoculate and grow these bacteria in a medium, what we do is we extract the DNA fragments straight off from the environmental samples. Then they're inserted into a DNA sequencer machine, which churn out millions of these small DNA fragments. And at that point, those small fragments are called contigs, and they're then put together into a longer sequence called scaffolds, and eventually into a bacterial genome, which then, using a computational analysis, we look at different functional properties. So it's things like what sort of nutrients that they use for their growth, or even look at their taxonomy, look at where in the tree of life these bacteria belong to. So you might think, well, if we can do all this stuff, then all the traditional methods we used to do is pretty much obsolete. But that's not the case, because in order for this analysis to happen, we need to have the pre-existing data that comes from the traditional methods. So really, this is the new paradigm where we are using both bit of the old and new together to study different properties and the classification of these bacteria. Okay, so using this process, scientists were able to generate to identify thousands and thousands of these different bacterial species. And in University of Queensland, in the lab where I did my PhD, we now have this database called Genome Taxonomy Database, where we catalog, which is used to catalog all these different species of bacteria, and also a cousin of bacteria called archaea. So archaea they're just like bacteria, except they tend to live in more of an extreme environment. So like volcano seeps and different like a deep ocean where there's absolutely zero oxygen and a high pressure. So yeah, this is it. The whole catalog of these microbes. And this is where the data is. And before we go on, there is some terminologies that I should introduce. So there's this term called isolate genomes, and also MAGs, or metagenomics assembled genomes. So isolate genomes are the ones where their functional properties are fully characterized, and there's actually a proper naming of these bacteria using a Latin nomenclature. Whereas max are basically really the fresh out of all the sequences from the meta genomes. So there's no actual real names for these guys. It might be something like UBA 2076, some weird code names. So isolates and max, and these are going to be mentioned for the next few slides. What is GTDB, through GTDB, what we've learned, first of all, is that, well, we scientists were really able to classify a lot of these bacteria and archaea over the years. So this is showing the trend over the past 4 releases, and over 4 releases over past 5 years. And this was the first. This was the first release, and I remember this well because this was the version of the database that I used when I was doing my PhD. And now this version of 207 just got released, I think 2 months, few months back. So there's this huge world of this bacterial and archaeal genomes that are being deposited in the database. But on the right hand side, this is something that's interesting because the number of the isolates are kind of decreasing, whereas the number of max are increasing over the past 5 years. And the reason the scientists believe that, well, I think we all agree that we sort of hit the limit on how we are able to grow and isolate this bacteria in order to give them a proper name. So there's that, first of all, this interesting trend. And if we actually take a look at this in a more more detail, what we're seeing is, so here this spiky purple, first of all, is a way for this, the microbiologists to classify different groups of bacteria. So we have, in a classification system, there are different, 5 different hierarchies. And this is showing the classification at the very highest level, which is the hierarchy called phylum. And here I've highlighted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, 5 different phyla that has been studied extensively over past several decades. So what this bar chart is showing is that, even in a phyla that's studied extensively, we're seeing that if we actually open up each of these phyla into a deeper level, we're seeing that there are this whole bunch of max that are in there. So there's a lot to be understood and discovered about each of these groups and others. And actually, because of this, there's this whole growth of data, and there's so much of these unknowns being discovered. Trying to actually decipher this data and try to present them in a form that not just scientists but everyone can understand is really that's the only way, I think, for us to kind of help the governments and other people in the industry set some sort of robust strategies for bioremediation and other like healthcare strategies. So in summary, well, microbiology is pretty much everywhere, and understanding how they interact with each other and with the environment, with the surrounding environment, is it's important in every aspect of our life and society. And advances in the sequencing technologies, such as the next generation sequencing, help to recover a significant number of these uncultured microbial lineage, which is equal to a mountain of data in a very short period of time, and actually being able to harness the technologies for data visualization and analyzing data is going to be very important in the present and the future to explore the different functional and physiological traits of these bacteria, and classify them into a right place in the spiky hair fertile. Okay, and finally, understanding these traits are again is going to help establish the strategies for healthcare, bioremediation, and environmental and agriculture policies. So yes, this is again. I just wanted to thank you for letting me into your community for past 5 years. I certainly learned a lot, and yes, hope our path cross. And I'll just take any questions from now. Okay.
I will send an email after the talk, and I'm going to include June's Tableau public profile, so you can check some of these database, because he's done amazing stuff. I'm really, you're very modest, you're not showing any of those database, but what he's done is very, very good. So I'll share the link. I mean, you can Google Tableau public,
Tableau
June.
public, and just type in microbiology.
Even better.
You search, then you should get a lot of stuff.
Tableau public microbiology.com. That's
Yeah.
it.
Just
click
in
the
a
domain.
search, just type in microbiology.
Any questions from
Yeah.
people in Zoom? No, if you have questions, you're hanging around.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have questions. Thanks again, John, and thanks again to share all those amazing databases. Cheers.
Yeah.
So next we've got Marco. Are you still? Yeah, Marco Motta. Marco is going to tell us a bit more about ABS, and then he's brave enough to do a live demo. So cross fingers for him. Are you doing on your laptop? Are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate. I'll just take a check because otherwise I'll switch on the laptop. In the meantime, I'll start.
Yeah,
sharing.
don't put the cables.
No, it's all right. So yeah, we'll see how we go. My name is Marco, as Brett said. I am the director of Marco Motta Consulting. We specialize in data analysis and visualizations. We're recently, we've done a bunch of projects, mostly to do with dashboards, but also in the space of market research and surveys. And I guess that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to chat with you today. As part of doing that, we had to work a little bit on ABS data, and it's to weigh some of the surveys to scale them to population. And I guess that gave us a good appreciation for some of the data that's there on the ABS website and in Table Builder, which I'll show to you. And it's also quite timely because the new census data has just recently been released. So you've got 2021 census data now. So as Fred mentioned, I'm going to try and do a live demo. We'll see how we go. But basically, the idea is to try and see, I use Alteryx and Tableau, but rather than use Alteryx, I'm actually going to try and do all my transformations in Tableau. So trying to be quite smart about how I download the table from Table Builder, and basically just trying to do a bunch of small transformations in Tableau, and then do a quick, very quick dashboards that ideally should show that a sample survey data weighed by, like, scaled up to population, and with a bunch of filters to see almost like a I've got a fake survey that says, do you like our product, yes or no? So basically it will be kind of showing how different demographics will will give us an NPS and a fake net promoter score. So
And all that in 10 minutes.
all of that in 10 minutes, so you see how we go.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. Like I was saying, the luck is that I've
So don't forget to show your
No,
screen.
yeah.
You can do something.
You can open the Zoom. I've been lucky enough to be able to practice my Tableau. When I used to work at Transport and Main Roads before, but then where I have some of my team members are here, they used to do all of my Tableau for me. Now I'm
Yeah, it's on the wireless. Okay. It's actually wireless, sorry. Are you already there?
Yeah, and let me see if I can show you. I'm seeing your screen. And now I have to do instead all my dashboards by myself. So I've been doing dashboards quite literally 8 hours a day. So hopefully I'm fast enough to get through this.
You're on screen now.
All right, so step number one, table builder. So let me see if I can sign again into table builder. So table builder is the ABS way to get your tables from census data. You can get like a free login with most of the basic stuff. You can obviously pay for a little bit more data, but to be honest, the basic login gives most of the stuff. So you can see all the different census, 2021 census data. If you open this folder, you'll find a bunch of cubes. Let me know if you can see all of this. So you find a bunch of cubes. The one that we're going to use today, the cultural diversity one, that includes things like age, gender, demographics, etc. I'll open that up, and if you double click, you're basically getting to building a table out of all the information that you've got. So I'm going to build this fairly simple table. So the outcome is to try and get a number of weights. So I'll use 3 characteristics to weigh the population, which are going to be state of residence, gender, and age in 10 years group. So quite simply, I'm going to drag those states into the columns. I'm then going to grab the actual age. You can do this in so many different ways, but I'm going to grab the age in 10 years group, sorry, here, and I'll put that into the column. So I'm building my table, and then I'm going to add what ABS calls sex. So there's no gender, it's very binary, it's male or female, and that's it. So we're going to, unfortunately, we're going to drop a bunch of data that doesn't conform to that. I'm going to put that into what's called a wafer. A wafer, it's basically just splitting up the table in more tables. So I could queue up this table, but I've already done that to speed things up. So once I do that, sorry, I should go there. I'll go to my save queue tables. That will be running, and I'll find my table and download my table, which I'll open up and put in my little special folder that I've created for this. I can do that. There you go. So now I've got this state, gender, and age in 10 years population table. I'm going to open this up. ABS is not kind enough to give us a decent looking table, so we'll have to do some very, very quick transformation in Excel. So I'm going to delete the top of this. Because we did the wafers, so you'll see all the states and all the ages like that. There's also a bunch of totals that I'm actually going to delete because I don't want to get them mixed up, and also the total at the bottom. I also don't want them to be mixed up with my data, because otherwise it'll give me a bunch of duplication. And on top of that, there's a total of all genders, which I'm going to delete too. So basically, we are left with these 2 little tables here. One is for males, one for females. Because Tableau really, really likes a flat table, I'm going to put the gender here. So this is male, and this is going to be female. And I'm going to drag that down, and this is, I'll delete this. So this is the only transformation I'm going to do in Excel. I'm going to do all my other ones in Tableau. So once I'm deleting that extra row, putting the state as the column, and here it is. So we've got all the states, all the ages, and all the genders. I'll save this, close it up, and I'm going to open it up into Tableau. It just should have opened. So Tableau doesn't take too long to open. It's got Fred just telling me I don't have time for bringing license.
Just while we're waiting,
Of course.
it's a little bit tricky to see that.
Oh, sorry, is that really small?
And we'll try and get something worked out better for that next time. But this is being recorded, and the videos will be available afterwards, and they'll have the full resolution.
Sorry about that. If just to be, I guess if you want, I'll try to zoom in a little bit. This is like table builder. So these are like table builder is basically like it's got all these options to drag in all these kind of different metrics to build a table. To be honest, I suggest that you hop onto table builder, get your own free login, and honestly play around with the cubes because there's quite a lot of interesting information there. Let me know if this is too small. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to open that state and gender, age, population, because I just want to pivot that table to I could have pivoted in Excel, to be honest, but I'm just going to pivot it in Tableau, just in case anyone doesn't know how to pivot a table in Tableau. So I'll open that up. I've got my table there. I'm just going to go into one of the sheets, and I'm going to select all my ages, and then I'm going to right-click, transform, and pivot. That pivots my ages, and so the ages are going to go into one column, and the age groups, and then the population is going to be now in one clean table. So I'm actually going to rename this to age, and then I'm going to rename the actual values to population. Cool. So that's on table number one, and I'm actually going to do a sticky, and I'm just going to export that into its own little table. So again, these transformations are a bit rudimentary, but here we are doing a pivoted of state, gender, and age. So here we've got now a separate pivoted table. I'm going to load up the actual survey data now. And just to show you basically, like, if you pop that in there, you kind of get the same. You get the same pivoted table as age, gender, state, and population. So here you've got all the combinations of age, state, and gender, which we're going to use to do our weights. So our weights are by state. Unfortunately, our survey is not only has postcode, which is pretty normal for surveys. Usually, you don't ask what state you come from and then what postcode, just ask the postcode. And so to kind of do that, I'm going to do a quick join in Tableau as well. So I'm going to get my sample survey data loaded. My sample survey data has got respondent ID and a bunch of questions, the postcode, and then the final question is, sorry, do you like our product, yes or no, which is down here. I have prepared earlier, and I was going to do the actual postcode stuff as well, but it was going to take too long. So I prepared earlier a nice postcode to state comparison table. It's not as clear cut. There's some postcodes across multiple states. There's a bunch of complexity there, and you could step it up to the point where you look at a percentage of which state is in which postcode and trying to decide all of that stuff. Definitely don't want to do that in Tableau. You could do that in Alteryx. But I think for the purpose of this, I'm just creating this little table. Now, I don't want to do a relationship because I don't trust relationships, but that's just me. And I had a chat with Bethany Lyons last night, who apparently created relationships in Tableau, and I complained to her, and I probably shouldn't have, about relationships. So I'm going to do a join, but you could probably do a relationship and it will work just as well. So I'm going to do a join from the sample survey, and I'm going to join that based on postcode. So there's a question that says, where do you live? Link down to your postcode, and then I've got my postcodes here. Postcodes are going to get joined, and basically what I'm going to get out of this is a table that I'm going to do an inner join, but if I was doing a real survey, I'd probably do a left join because I want to keep the answers that don't have a postcode in there. I'll do an inner join just because it's more practical and I get all clean data. But once I've got that, I'm going to do again that trick, and I am going to export that in a CSV file, and that's going to be my sample survey plus state. So again, pretty rudimentary stuff, but I think it's quite helpful to see that you can do all this stuff in Tableau. You don't need Tableau prep. And obviously you do a bunch of steps that are not very clean, but in a pinch, you can do it. So now we've got that data set. One thing that I now need to do is to create a join between the table with the number of my answers and the table with my population, because ultimately what I want to do is to create what I call a population multiplier. So basically, it's like for each answer that I have, how representative is that answer of the set of the population that I have in that particular combination of characteristics? Sorry, hope that makes sense. So basically, I choose a bunch of characteristics, which are state, gender, and age. And for each of those characteristics in Australia, there is a number of people. So because I have, let's say if I have 10 answers, I need to divide that number of people by the number of answers that I have, because each answer is going to count for a tenth of that population. Hope that makes sense now. To do that, I'm just going to close this table so I don't get confused. So close, I've got 70 close, and then I'm going to load up. Those two tables that we've just created. So I'm going to get that sample survey plus state, and I am going to join that with. I think I've done the right thing here, but I'm going to join that with the pivoted one. Yep. Go. Again, don't want to do that just in case it trips me up. So now we've got to do that join by state, by gender, and that question is what is your gender, and then by age. And again, in a normal scenario, you get all sorts of problems because your age has got years spelled with a capital and the other one is non-capital, and so you'll need to kind of double check all of this stuff. In my case, I've obviously cleaned up the data a little bit more, and it's working quite out of the box. So once you do this, you now have this table, which has all of the characteristics that we want. We've got the population together with the respondent ID. The last thing we want to do is to actually count the total number of responses. So we're going to do we could just chuck it in there, but I'm just going to do a calculator field that says number of responses, and I'm going to do a count distinct, because basically what I want to know is, and again, in this case, it doesn't matter because I know that they're all single respondents, but in case we'll do a count distinct, and we've got the number of total responses for each of those segments that we've joined. And now what we can do is we're going to create another calculator field, which is the population divided by the number of respondents. And we should do the sum. I feel like I probably should have done one more step, but let's see if this works like that. I'm going to do the sum of population divided by the number of respondents. That's better. Oh, I shouldn't have called it calculation, huh? I call this my pop multiplier. Cool. So now that I've got that, I'm going to create this table in Tableau. So I've got age, gender, state, and now I'm going to chuck in there my population multiplier. And if I've done things right, which I have a number of people for each of, like, I've got a multiplier for each of those segments that I can then apply back to my responses. So I've got this table, which I'm going to call the weights. This table is basically how much each response is weighs for each of the kind of combinations of segments that I've got. So I am going to do this last step where I do extract this table. So the reason why I put them in a bar chart is because it's easier to do this view data in a bar chart. The other option kind of tricks up a little bit. And basically, what I've got here is this clean table with age, gender, state, and the population multiplier for each of those. So I'm going to download this table, and this I'm going to call my weights. Final step to the data kind of cleanup process. I'm going to close this again. I'm going to load up my actual survey data with the states because I need that. And then I'm going to join that with the weights. And I'm going to join again by state, gender,
and H. And now, I'll still do an inner join, which I probably wouldn't do in another case. But now I've got this population multiplier that I can use to get information about what's the percentage of certain things weighed by the population for that segment. So I'm going to do a couple of very, very quick dashboards, and if I don't get time, I'll show you a little bit of the final product. So I'll start by doing the do you like our product? And I like to do a pie chart for this, but I don't like pie charts, so I am going to do a donut chart. And to do that, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to put that population multiplier. Because we've done it that way, now we can just do the sum of that quite simply. And as you know, in Tableau, the only way to do a donut chart is to do a dual axis chart, which is pretty ridiculous, but here we are. And turn this to, oh, that's not what I need. Get rid of this. Reduce the size of that. Turn that to white. So now we've got a little donut chart that I need to populate. I am not a circle, and need a pie. And we'll get a pie as well. Take away the headers. I'll format a bunch of stuff, which always feels really annoying to do. Sounds good. Now, once I've got this, obviously this is not the right. I need to put that population multiplier in the angles. So here we go. We've got the yeses, we got the no's, and then I want to make that a percentage of total. I want to. So I want to make that the angle. Do that. All right. Yeah, and I want to make that the color. Cool. So now I've got yes or no, and I've got my, well, there should be my percentages somewhere. Good. So I want to also give them some nice color. I've got my own little color palette here that I like to, and I'm going to use a green for the yes and a red for the no. And I'm going to get rid of that line in the middle. Here we go. Good. So here's our chart. We'll call this the MPS. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is a bunch of bar charts, and these are much easier to do, except I've got this in the way. So we put the age, for example. We want to do a bar chart for age. We put the population multiplier, oh, not in there. And now we actually, the population multiplier doesn't look quite right. I'll have to double check that I've done my calculation right, but I will make this a percentage of total. And I'll also, so one thing that I want to do, I now want to color that by the, I want to know which ones are the top ages, the top two, for example. Again, pretty simple technique. I'm going to use a rank top two. And I'm going to use I'm going to do a rank formula first. So I'll do a rank by that population multiplier again. I need to tell her that I want to use the sum of that. So basically, I'm going to rank this by that population multiplier to see which one's the biggest. I'm going to rank it by descending order. And that's it. And then I'm going to create, on top of that, I'm going to create another calculator field, which is rank top two, which is say if rank is equal 1, then I'm going to use the aqua color, else if rank equal 2, then light aqua. else gray and so once I do that, if I pop that into color, you'll see that now everything's color orange except for these two. Now, obviously, I want to make that a little bit nicer. So again, I'm going to use my pre-populated color palette with my corporate colors, which is down here. So I've got the aqua, I've got that light aqua, and then I've got that the gray. I usually use a Tableau gray, so it's a bit more standardized. That looks much better, and this is actually showing you what are the top 2 ages in that in that group. Now, I'm not going to have time to kind of go through, but the cool thing about this is that you can now duplicate this, and instead of the age, you might chuck in there the level of education, for example, and you might just need to reorder it properly. But here is the same one for the level of education, where it shows the percentages of all of that. I might just quickly go to the one, that one that I prepared earlier. Hopefully it works and it doesn't get upset if I deleted some stuff. There you go. I'm going to move that. So basically, this is quite like it would have been quite quick to, if I had 20 minutes, I would have been able to do all of this in 20 minutes.
Stop with your
I haven't quite got there. But the idea of this is that now you've got this net promoter score, you've got your location by state, you've got your gender, your age, your household income, education, occupation, and you can actually turn this all into filters. And now you can say, okay, I want to know what the people of Western Australia think about my product as compared to the people in New South Wales. And all of these updates. And you can see the various kind of gender age updating. You want to also, for example, you might want to see, do women in New South Wales like my product more than men? And so you can, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's say do young people in New South Wales like that more than men? And so we can select a bunch of stuff, and young people like my product, well, they say yes 80% as opposed to 90%, whereas if you look at the average, it's about 88%, so a little bit less. Older people, they like it a lot. So everyone likes it if they're older than 70. So I don't know what product I'm selling right now, but it's really going well with the oldies in New South Wales. And again, you can do all of this, and you can say, okay, I want to see the 70-year-olds by that earn, I don't know, not a lot of money, and that have a bachelor degree. And obviously, as you do that, you'll cut down your number of responses, and you'll get to a point where your sample size is probably going to be quite crappy. And to be honest, this sample size isn't great to begin with. This survey doesn't have a lot of answers, but one of the things you want to make sure is, as you get if you want to do it by state, by gender, and by education, you want to make sure that at least each combination has got 20 or 30 responses. So at least as you cut down, you're not going to go too far down. And basically, that's all I wanted to talk about. And we could have gone on for quite some time, but I think
next time.
I was quite close, but I don't think I would have made it. I just wanted to throw.
Can I ask a big question?
Of course you can.
Yeah, go for it.
Can you select multiple regions on the map?
What's that, sorry?
Can you select multiple regions on the map?
Yeah, you can. Oh, sorry. I lost. Where is it? Absolutely. So you can, if you use control, you can select as many things as you want. So let's say you want to do, if you want to do the top. You can even use this little kind of that tool as well on the map. So yeah, lots and lots of stuff that you can do with that. Oh, sorry.
Mark, I'm just conscious of time.
Yeah, I'm done.
Just want to make sure that it's probably going to sleep, so. I did bedtime, you're going to get
So yeah, I guess I just want to throw this up. Just feel free to reach out. We're data analytics consulting, really interested in chatting with people about data analytics. We're growing at the moment, so yeah, very, very happy to chat with everyone.
Any question? Any question online for Marco? Or no? No. Thanks. Very impressive to do a live demo like this, and no
Yeah.
crashes.
Almost
no-
worked out.
And no script, nothing.
No,
That's amazing. Thanks, Marco. That's another experience that
Everyone, I'll be very quick.
Dara's going to talk to us about his R&D submissions. I don't know if you know what R&D is, but Dara would explain quickly what
I
it
will,
is.
I will. How do I get to the slides?
Just, oh. I need to share the screen first. Go. You can talk.
I can? Oh,
Yeah. Just watch my back.
Hey everyone, I'm Dara. I participated in IronViz this year. Has everyone heard of IronViz? Does everyone know what it is?
Just tell everyone what it is.
It's an annual competition, even though it's been held twice this year. Of showcasing participants trying to showcase their data visualization skills to Tableau and the wider community. And today I'm talking about my first step of participation. I have been using Tableau for a number of years, but I never kind of got the courage to participate. And by the way, I forgot to mention, I also work at JLL and with a couple of colleagues in the room. Known, down to those crazy kids down the back. And I've also known Frederick for a number of years. We used to work together at UT, and it kind of got me into the Tableau community in many ways, and Dave for this as well. So annoyingly, I put a lot of animations into my PowerPoints. I'm going to stand over here because I just love animation PowerPoint, but I just went a bit too crazy.
Christmas animation.
What's that?
Christmas animation.
No, I didn't put that in, just random animations. That's how the way I roll with PowerPoint. So yeah, today I'm talking about I've only got about 4 slides. What I did the IronViz topic this year was on sport games, which included sports, thankfully, because I did my visualization on AFLW, the women's competition of AFL. I'm a huge AFL fan. I actually randomly, this is total coincidence, I did wear my Brisbane Lions socks today. Not intentional, but I also follow the women's game quite closely as well. Brisbane Lions are actually in the prelim final, I think tomorrow night, down at Metricon. More than likely going to win the premiership this year, so you should definitely support them. Very good team this year. Anyway, so my viz for IronViz was on the looking at women in Australian rules, and particularly the rise of the AFLW, which is a fairly new competition, semi-professional, and it's come up around the last 5 years. It's only 7 seasons deep. So anyway, I want to kind of talk about my reasons for entering. So it was, I said it was one hectic month. I do question my sanity now because I actually have a young child, about 9 months old. And I thought, I'd never entered before prior to kids. And I thought, oh, suddenly I'll have all this time to do it, despite having, I'm not sure who else has children, but yeah, young children can be quite challenging. So I do, as I said there, I question my rationality now of my decision. So looking back. So I had 4 reasons for entering. So I always wanted to. So it's been a long-term ambition of mine to enter IronViz. The topic itself was appealing. I'd actually been thinking about this topic for a number of years. I already had the data, which is available through a really good R package dedicated to AFL stats. So I knew where to get it immediately. So those 2 things came up and I was like, oh, well, I'm entering now. So I already knew what I was going to do. I also had a great support network. Within JLL, it's a global company. We have a massive BI team and a lot of BI experts, including my colleagues in the room as well. We also have a lot of Tableau visionaries and ambassadors across the world. So a colleague of mine, CJ Mays, who you guys might know, who's a Tableau visionary, he kind of kindly put an offer out for people to kind of run their IronViz submissions by them. So I took him up on the offer. So every week we sat down for about half an hour, him London morning, me Brisbane afternoon, and he kind of gave me a lot of advice about how to improve visualization and how to pitch the topic. And as you know, CJ was actually a finalist in IronViz earlier this year. Also, the wider Tableau community online I did sit down with Kimley, who was also a finalist in INVIS this year, to talk through my viz, and also Michelle Freeman as well. We had a session. So there was I think it was under Sarah Bartlett's INVIS session. So if you don't know Sarah, she's quite active in the Tableau community. And the last reason for entering, what did I say? I can't remember. I actually made a bet that I would have time. That was a really silly bet because, as I mentioned, I have a very young child. A lot happened in October, and 2 days before the submission, I managed to get COVID for the first time. And I thought, I am done. I'm not going to be able to get it. But somehow, as I said it when I submitted, through the paracetamol and Nurofen, the fever dream, I managed to get something in with half an hour left to go. So that was the 4 reasons for entering. So what I did, I'll just quickly, I can show the viz at the end, but you can see it online. It may be in the interest of time, I won't go through. Sorry, the text might be very hard to see, but I'll quickly describe it. So I actually have a degree in, I have a degree in IT and information systems and analytics, but I also have an honours degree in history. So what I did was I was really keen to do a visual essay. As I said, I looked at the historical dimensions of women in Australian rules, and then kind of led that through to looking at the AFLW competition. The reason I wanted to do it is the AFLW often gets really criticized for being like a crap version of AFL, usually by like really old dudes who love to talk about how they don't watch it for that reason. And I really hate that. And I wanted to show that it's an evolving sport, it's very young, and there's evidence already that it's getting better. So that's what my entry was focused on. So here comes the animations. So I'll just throw, there's 4 sections of the viz here that you can see online. Yeah, it did really go crazy. Yeah. Sorry about that. So if you go and have a look at the viz online, it kind of covers 4 sections. I look at the historical context using a timeline. I look at season and match analysis using a bunch of scatter plots and bar charts as well, jittered scatter plots. I also delve into player analysis. The interesting thing about player analysis, what you come through with the data is you have all these players who've been playing for 7 seasons. The new crop of younger women coming through are as good, if not better. So you can like to really see the improvement in the skill level if you look at specific AFL metrics. Going back to season and match analysis as well, we're actually getting a lot more games. People forget that AFL season for women only goes for like 10 rounds, and there's not a huge amount of teams. And also the games are shorter, so that's why you don't get as many points in a game. I'm not sure who else watches AFL, but that's one thing a lot of people complain about is there's not enough goals. I was like, well, they don't play for like 20 minutes shorter than the men's game. So that really comes through. And the last thing I wanted to do is look at like amateur participation in AFL from women. And there's clear spikes that I think women's participation makes up like 25% of all amateur level participation now across Australia, where it used to be like 1% before the AFLW was in. So the actual viz itself is quite long. I'm not going to show it on the screen. You can have a look at it later if you want. But I wanted to actually get to this part. So the learnings, the learnings I took from this process. So essentially, the things, if anyone's thinking of entering, these are my tips. Be really decisive on your topic. Try to decide as early as possible, get your data sorted, and then just go for it. Because as we all know, as data professionals, data prep usually takes the vast majority of time. So any tactic that you can reduce that period is pretty crucial, because INVIS, you think you've got a month, it'll run out really quick because things will come up like COVID 2 days before. Get that regular critical feedback from colleagues or data experts within your company or the wider Tableau community. Just accept that it will be hard. It's no walk in the park. Like I felt like pretty emotionally drained and mentally drained at the end. You'll feel that pressure of impending doom, no doubt, and you probably feel very anxious and this kind of idea of imposter syndrome. I think data people are really prone to this. They always think, oh, there's people out there doing so much better work, mine can never compare. You just have to accept that you're going to feel that and just give it your best shot anyway. And then at the end, enjoy that rosy glow. That's that icon is not random. I definitely had some a cocktail when I submitted, even though I was paracetamol and had COVID. So you'll likely learn a lot of things, not only about the subject matter you choose, but also about Tableau itself. Like while I've been using Tableau fairly heavily, particularly over the last 2 years, I definitely learned a lot about like things like map layers, which I use to design timelines, like using fancy things. They're not, map layers are not just for maps. You can like build dashboards basically on one sheet with no other things. I learned heaps about that. Yeah, you'll make perhaps even new friends along the way. So thank you for listening. I'm not sure if we have enough time to share the viz, but you can find it online. Just search my name, find viz. It's up there in the gallery as well on AFLW. Yeah, and if you want to contact me, we can talk after. I'm pretty active on Twitter this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Art.
Yeah.
Before we break for, I was going to say lunch, drinks, which are at the back there. There's a ping table at home, right? Barbecue. Thanks, Dave and Dave. Just wondering if there's any people looking for jobs or people hiring. There's always a good platform. If you're hiring manager and looking for Tableau developers or looking for jobs, I think I have some. You left, right? There was something for you. Okay.
We are, if anyone is interested with complementary skills Tableau, you don't have to be a Tableau expert. We prefer to get people that have complementary skills and we lift them on the Tableau. So if anyone's interested in that sort of space, and we'll see how we play ping pong lunch outside. So I would make mention, as Darryl was talking about jail. Some of the stuff they've got going on is amazing. So yeah. But yeah, I'll leave that one there. There's also another job. I don't have the details in front of me. Do you have them? There's
No, but if you joined the LinkedIn a couple years ago, so Brisbane couple years ago, LinkedIn, and just find it and we can
forward you the details for that.
There was a couple of guys, so I always post jobs in there as well. So make sure you're on LinkedIn. You've had a couple of maybe contacts, maybe. So just often just connections. So if you're looking for a job, just scream out and remind of someone that's looking for someone.
Yeah.
So as we said earlier, we meet every couple of months. So we're probably going to meet in Feb. So if you guys, if someone is interested to talk, Tableau or share skill, tips and tricks, or story or job or whatever, just it's quite casual as you can see, and it's quite varied. So thanks for coming, and then see you at the back for pizza and then ping pong.
And if anyone needs to go to the loo, there's females are just there next to the TV out there, and the male is right up the end on the right hand side. But yeah, out there for the food and drink.
Thanks for coming. Tableau slides. It's only that for you guys who presented. So I've got only caps and models, so you can choose. Or you choose. Or you choose your the youngest.
I'll get a book. I keep on the books.
Thank you. Go for choice.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, they can't.
Thank you.